every century records an act that lives forevermore. We'll recall, as into line we fall, the thing that happened on Hawaii shore. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet the foe. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we did the Alamo. We will always remember how they died for liberty. Let's remember Pearl Harbor and go on to victory.
Over 3 decades, and can't count back how many times I've seen that done, and that is the best I've ever seen. There's a presentation, and I was trying to figure out how to best express. Let me just go get right into it, because I'll crammed a bunch of things. This is, if you'll take a look at the program, it says something about works of art, and that's what this is all about. The world's true works of art have images or icons that visibly demonstrates their beauty and value. While physical art, like the Mona Lisa, Sistine Chapel, and the bridge, those images are synonymous with the art itself. However, with literature, it is left to each reader to create that visual icon which represents their personal experience with that material. In 1998, Tom Brokaw wrote an amazing book, the biography of an era in American history titled Great Generation. When I think of that book, or even as just its title, I see the face of Mickey Ganitch.
During that hospital visit, I very definitely felt that I had been thrown under the bus. 58 years, there's a lot of memories to think about, but two that come to mind all the time are two odd moments. One of them during our early years of marriage, when we still lived in Oakland, we had adopted a beautiful Siamese cat. We went to the pound to get a little male kitten. Came home with a 10-month-old female that had the last word in all conversations. Whether it was praise or criticism or demands, she had the last word. Well, one 4th of July holiday while we still lived in Oakland, we decided that watching the annual fireworks from our rooftop would be a great idea. At that time, my left arm was broken and in a cast and a sling. Nevertheless, the ladder was put in place and I climbed up to the rooftop with Mickey behind me on the ladder, just in case. Yeah. And that would have been Lord love us. And during our watching of the fireworks up on the rooftop, who should appear peeking over the edge of the roof with the Siamese cat? She climbed the ladder too. And was definitely talking incessantly about her people and their oddness for ideas. But she joined us for the balance of the show. Now it's time to come down off the roof. Since we both knew that Yachi, her approach to descending from anywhere was head first. So that meant Mickey carried the princess in his arms down the ladder, and I with a broken arm in a sling. Very carefully. But I think my prized memory of oddness is one night after everybody settled down and sleeping, I was awakened by this loud music next to me. Mickey was piling up that cord of wood like it was going out of style. And I turned to poke him in the ribs and roll him over a bit and turned the buzzsaw off. What I saw, I will never forget, because sitting on Mickey's chest was our Siamese cat, with her 4 feet tucked together and her tail wrapped around the very princess. And she's going up and down with his chest. And she's very much interested in that musical rendition. She's bending forward to his mouth to get close and find out what it is, and then he would let out a whistle and she would straighten back up. This went on. She'd bend forward, he'd whistle, she'd drew her back. And she's going up and down with his chest. I finally had to get out of bed and get into the living room where I could breathe and laugh. And even yet, if cell phones had been invented earlier, this episode probably would have won the first prize on America's Funniest.
Barbara up. There's a little short story that I'm going to tell you that Aunt Barbara said we have to tell the 58 story. Okay. So I was happy to fly into Oakland Sunday, May 1st, hearing that Uncle Mickey was declining, and I wanted to see him still awake and laughing. And you know he laughed most of the time. And certainly always smiling. So this story is a highlight not only for myself, but for Aunt Barbara, who shared in all these moments with me. So he was very thirsty, and he couldn't have anything to drink. The doctors ordered, that mostly because they were constantly running tests and he couldn't have anything by mouth. So, but he was constantly asking for a drink, and he would name them off, like water, Pepsi, 7-Up, juice, just give me anything. And we had to make up all kinds of excuses why he couldn't have anything to drink. And of course, he could not understand that, really, but he was not only begging, but then he started ordering things from us. So, when are you going to get me that Pepsi? And when are you going to get 7-Up? And you need, so that kind of stuff. And at one point, Barb was on the left side of the bed, and I was on the other side, and he started to get out of bed. Drew the covers back, and she grabbed him and said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going home to get my wallet to go buy a drink. And she said, you can't leave because you don't have any clothes. With a disgusted look, he contemplated that for a minute, and then he tried to get up again, throwing the covers back. And she said, where are you going? I'm going home to get some clothes, to get my wallet, to go buy a drink. I mean, seriously, we were laughing our heads off, trying not to, be disrespectful, of course. But, I mean, it was just hilarious. So this went on several more times because he couldn't hear well, and only more out of just one ear, we had to yell all this, or speak really, really loudly, right into his ear. Well, and most people, except me, they were afraid they were going to hurt him or something. No, he wants to hear, talk to him, So, since I was the loudest, I would translate, whatever she was saying or whatever, because he just would say, I can't hear her. So she had moved to the other side of the bed, basically we had switched sides, and suddenly he said to me, what happened to her? I said, oh, she's right over there. And he just looked straight ahead, didn't even look over to where I was pointing, and said, 58 years. I can't believe she's gone. I thought I did pretty well. I thought I gave her everything. And I said, no, she's right there. And she stood up and said, I'm right here. I love you. And he just was like, I can't hear her. What would you translate? And not those are the words, and I yell in his ear. She said, I'm right here, and she loves you. And he just, honestly, he just said, I can't believe it. He got sad, and I was sad for him. I said, no. She's right here. And she repeated it all over again, and then, but he didn't even want to hear her try. He just was like, just translate it for me. So I did again, and I said, all right, she loves you, she's right here, it's going on 59, so no problem. And he paused and smiled, and his thoughtful reply was, very quietly, can I please have a drink? He was so cute. The bar was welcome. Let's welcome Mrs. Michael, Mrs. Barbara.
My mother used to sing it too. They used to sing it together at the serving Christmases that I spoke about earlier, so it's a family tradition. Tamo delego mara, tamo yesele moye, tamo yelubo moya, petbe kuba, na körbür jiven ya, yo betu bezu beben, jivila Serbia. No, seriously, is it echoey and weird? She just said, just quit talking.
Okay, here's our next song. Yeah, Uncle Mickey, I love this song too. Crazy. These are Neil Sedaka's songs, so get ready.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, happy birthday, sweet 16. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, happy birthday, sweet 16. Tonight's the night I waited for, because you're not a baby anymore. You've turned into the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Happy birthday, sweet 16. What happened to that funny face? My little tomboy now wears Santa's lace. I can't believe my eyes, you're just a teenage dream. Happy birthday, sweet 16. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, happy birthday, sweet 16. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, happy birthday, sweet 16.
Okay, here we go. One more.
We practiced this at the hotel room last night. And it reminded me I hadn't sang this since I was 17, which, you know, was just a few years ago.
Okay, here we go.
Do-do-do down, doobie-doo down, down. Come on down, doobie-doo down, down. Come on down, doobie-doo down, down. Breaking up is hard to do. Don't take your love away from me. Don't you leave my heart in misery. If you go, then I'll be blue. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. Remember when you held me tight and you kissed me all through the night. Think of all that we've been through. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. They say that breaking up is hard to do. Now I know that it's true. Don't say that this is the end. Instead of breaking up, I wish that we were making up again. I beg of you, don't say goodbye. Can't we give our love another try? Come on, baby, let's start anew. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. Do-do-do down, do-be-do down, down. Everybody. Come on down, do-be-do down, down. Come on down, do-be-do down, down. Breaking up is hard to do.
But the Ganitches all know me as Nipper. I won't go into why, but anyways. How do you say Mickey Ganitch with a smile? You can be having the worst day and think about Uncle Mickey and things just smooth out. He's just a great guy, a great uncle. My father was a career military man, also in the Marines, so there was a little competitiveness between the two of them. They didn't get to see each other very often, but when they did, they were really loving brothers. Just the whole family was like that. One of the things that comes to mind for me is, and there's a picture of it on this thing that's going through, the two of them in the Korean War were going to be in the same area on different ships. Uncle Mickey was on a, I think, a munitions carrier or something, and Dad was being deployed to Korea. And they knew they were going to be in the same area. So somehow these two farm boys from Ohio rigged up a deal to get the two ships into the same area. And they spoke in German, or not in German, Serbian. Okay, certainly got other goals of mine there. Anyways, they got these two ships together. My dad got on Uncle Mickey's ship somehow, and there's a picture of it up here, and it also made the front page of the Akron Beacon Journal, which was the closest big city to Lockwood, Ohio, where I'm from. So that was quite an accomplishment for these two guys. But I never figured out how that worked out. But that's just, you know, what two farm boys can accomplish. And those guys were great guys. Uncle Mickey, we love you. Can't say the word again. I've already forgot how you told me to pronounce it. Nostrovia. Nostrovia. Nostrovia.
Russian.
Thank you.
With probably a lot of you folks. And he walked in and he went, and everybody went, surprise! And he said, permission to come aboard. It was cool. Yes, it was. Anyway. While he was in San Diego too, I'm a musician, a professional musician, as my sister is as well. And he came to my show, which was such an honor. And he was so hilarious. He had to get out on the dance floor and twist. And if, you know, Uncle Mickey twisted, if you've never seen the site, I'm sure there's videos, which is another thing too. If you Google Mickey Ganitch, not just Uncle Mickey, but if you Google Mickey Ganitch, you'll find videos of stadiums singing happy birthday to him, or him throwing the first football, or his famous, I'm not gonna bend over in front of you, but you've seen him do his what did you call it, the 1, 2, 3, whatever, yeah, whatever that is. But anyway, the football stance. I'm not gonna do it, but anyway, you guys know what I mean. It won't look the same, I don't have white pants on, okay? Anyway, and the keep breathing thing. I mean, that, I love it that you brought that up, and we all, a lot of us have heard it. I swear, it's my line now. It's my line, thanks Uncle Mickey, okay? Because at all my shows, and I work with kids too, and I always tell them, and everybody goes, Uncle, do you want to know what the secret is? My 102-year-old Uncle Mickey says, the secret to long life, and everybody literally goes, wow, what is it? And it's like, keep breathing. And they're like, yeah, Uncle Mickey. Everybody's Uncle Mickey. All right. Well, I know we've got other people, other family members that want to come up and share their love for Uncle Mickey. He was a dear. He was the second to the last of the family of 14. My mother was the baby, but Uncle Mickey made it to 102, which is just amazing. So we've got that going for us, right? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, he also carried on family traditions for us on our holidays. We honored our Serbian heritage, and we would have, you know, individual families would celebrate however we wanted to during the holidays, and then after, like in January, we would celebrate Serbian Christmas, which was also a family reunion. And Uncle Mickey would wear his some traditional Serbian garb, and he would recall the stories that our grandfather, his father, told during the holidays. And he would throw one of the ceremonies, other than sprinkling the hay around to celebrate the manger and having an extra seat at the table for the person that could not or was not with us anymore. He would also throw walnuts to four corners of the room, and he would say, Vomiansa, throw the walnut, everybody duck, okay. Jetse, Isiva Duga, Duha, Amen. Anyway, thank you, Amen.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Roberts.
Yay!
Right here.
I'm very pleased to be here as 20-year council member and 4-time mayor of Danville, but I'm really honored to be here wearing our uniform for the sons and daughters of Pearl Harbor survivors, and starting over 15 years ago with the Pearl Harbor Survivors Group, Chapter 13. So to represent them and see them once a month is absolutely amazing. And of course, Mickey was part of this. But you need to remember not just that the president knew Mickey, but that the people in this county, I think all of the mayors know Mickey. So I feel like I'm representing them as well today. But this is a proclamation, as cities often do. We wanted a proclamation for Mickey because he had done so much, not just for all of these people, but for the community of Danville. From this proclamation, and I'll show it to you in a moment, on this memorial held on the USS Hornet in remembrance of Pearl Harbor survivor Mickey Ganitch at 102 years, the Town Council of Danville, California held Mickey in highest regards and wishes to express our admiration for his bravery, kindness, humor, and dedication to our community. In his own words and from his book, "Well, this is the best country there is, for better or worse. This is the best country. I'm proud that I served this country. I would do it again." Sounds like Mickey, because he wrote those words so many times. Whereas Mickey Ganitch served in the Navy on December 7th, 1941, on the USS Pennsylvania, the flagship battleship of the fleet through World War II and Korea, retiring as the senior chief quartermaster on October 10th, 1963. Whereas Mickey Ganitch showed uncommon bravery on December 7th, 1941, when the planes attacked Pearl Harbor and he climbed 35 feet up to his observation station in the crow's nest, a bomb missing him by 45 feet. And I am going to shorten the proclamation part. Whereas Mickey Ganitch has served in the annual wreath-laying ceremony of our 9/11 ceremony, remembering the All Wars Memorial in Danville, speaking to the community with valor and honor for those who served after the aerial attacks on American soil at Pearl Harbor and at the Twin Towers in New York, where he would be, and this is an aside, he would be the person who always saluted right there in front of the Freedom Wall. This Freedom Wall has all the quotations that all of the people in this audience fought for. I am absolutely honored to see all the veterans who are here today. But Mickey always was the one that showed up in these photos because he stood the straightest, and I'm going to say, and the tallest. Resolved that the Danville Town Council does hereby venerate Mickey Ganitch for his dedication to his shipmates and for his years of service to the Danville community. Lest we forget, the entire Town Council of Danville has declared this proclamation hereunto, raising up the feats and accomplishments of Mickey Ganitch on this 23rd day of July 22nd. He certainly, it's not the amount that you harvest, but it's the seeds that you plant. And I see that with the entire amazing family of Mickeys that is here today and all the veterans that represent him. So the first time we have a proclamation, we have something in the background, and it is the USS Pennsylvania, the ship that won the war.
Oh man. Somebody's going to ask a horrible question, somebody's going to say something, somebody's going to do whatever, and they were transfixed. And I have a picture of that moment, and Barbara, I'll send it to you, and every single one of us is like this. And he did his 3-point football stance, and he made us fall in love with him and fall in love with him, we did. And those kids, he said stuff like, be responsible for your actions. And kids to this day in my school, we don't say, and I mean no disrespect, a lot of times we don't say what would Jesus do at my school, we would say what would Mickey do, right? And to any kid who knows Mickey, I say, well, what would Mickey say about that? And they're like, right, I've got to take responsibility for my actions. But I do have a couple of quotes from the kids because when he was with me and the adults around, whatever, Mickey would whisper to me all the time if there were too many adults around, can you just get me with the kids, please? Can I just be with the kids? Here's a few quotes. When he held my hand, I felt safe and like the world was okay. He inspired me to try harder and be the best I can be. You can tell he really loves us. I will always tell his story. I will tell my kids his story, and they will tell their kids. And my favorite, I read about Pearl Harbor, but now I understand. Collectively, a group of kids who had been with Mickey and Barbara and Bonnie for years, after he passed, we got together and we were just kind of sitting in the courtyard crying, and one kid said, 102 years isn't enough. And I said, no. And another kid said, 102 years wouldn't be another 102 years wouldn't be enough. And we all agreed that it wouldn't. But we all agreed that our lives were changed. We all agreed that he made us a better human. And I'm sad that he's not here to call me young lady, because this lady asked me if my sister was my daughter. I'm sad about that. Because he would have fixed that for me, you know? But somebody else said it, I don't miss him, I feel him, you know? And I feel him every time I look at a flag. I feel him every time I see a kid talk about the story and talk about the Pennsylvania. When we have a new kid come into the school and they're going on a tour and somebody asks a kid who's been there about Mickey Ganitch and they tell his story. And his story is important, but the feeling that he put in all of our hearts is even more important. Thank you, Barbara and his family, for sharing him with us. What an incredible gift you shared with us, and what an incredible gift he gave each other. Look at around here. Look at, we are with our people, right? This is pretty amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Mickey. Listen, I do have one Mickey story. Every time he came to see me, he'd say, what's for dinner? And I'd say, fish. And he'd say, watch your mouth.
I'm sorry. Well, I don't know. It's a tie, I think.
Yeah.
All right, now I am pleased to introduce the former mayor of Danville, Karen Stepper.
Cows by hand. Couple, okay. How about anybody steer a 33,000-ton battleship, as Mickey was fond of saying? And I'm pretty sure no one's going to raise their hand for this. Has anybody ever sung in the White House and then had the president say, he's a very shy person? So Mickey was definitely unique. But what I'd really like to share with you are some of his words. I've had the privilege of interviewing over 1,000 veterans of World War II all over the country. I'm a sports announcer, and when I travel, I interview vets wherever I go. And so I can tell you that Mickey was unique. Here's another way he was unique. I can count on one hand the number of 100-year-olds who, when I said, well, where do you want to meet up? Instead of his home or an assisted living facility, he said, meet me in the office that I drive myself to 5 days a week. That was pretty unique. But I went back and listened to some of the things that he shared with me, and I think there's some power in his words that help us understand what drove him and maybe give us an example to follow. We've heard a little bit about December 7th. We all know he was in his football pads, and that made it tough to squeeze up into the crow's nest. And as you may have heard him say, he was close enough to the planes flying by that he could have thrown his binoculars at them, which was the only thing he had to throw at that point. And a few other things that he said that day, because you remember that bomb flew really close to him, and he said if it hadn't been an armor-piercing bomb and gone below, if it had exploded on contact, he wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't be here right now talking about him. But what did he say about that? You probably heard him say this. He said, I figured God had other plans for me and was looking out for me. And that wasn't a throwaway line for Mickey. We know that by looking at the way that he lived his life. When he said God had other plans for him, he made the rest of his life about carrying out those plans. Another thing that he said, you can't change what happened before. Think about what we're going to do for the future. That's why he went and spoke to so many kids and so many of your groups that we've just heard from. But think about that, as we're here today, we're reflecting on the past and 102.5 years of Mickey Ganitch's legacy. But don't you think Mickey would want us to think about the future and how we can make a difference the way he did? Here's something else that he said. He said, because I was helped so many times when I was in the service, that's why I dedicated myself to helping others. We think about our own lives. Who are the people who have helped us? And can we follow Mickey's example and pass that on to others the way he did? When I asked him about the lives lost at Pearl Harbor, over 2,400, more than 400,000 Americans in World War II, he said, that's what I do it for. I'm doing it for them because they're not here to do it. What are those areas in our lives where someone we've lost, someone we knew, what would they be doing if they were here, and how can we carry that example? And one way he really made that powerful was by sharing one name with me. You guys all know that Mickey grew up on a farm in Ohio, and he said a neighboring farm, there was a young man there that he played football against in high school by the name of Howard Royer. Howard was on the USS Arizona, and at 1 o'clock on December 7th, Howard and Mickey would have been on opposite sides of that football game, the Fleet Football Championship. But Howard didn't survive December 7th. Maybe you heard Mickey say that football game, he said, we didn't cancel that game, we just postponed it. So maybe today, when Mickey's done enjoying all the remembrances that are shared here today, maybe he and Howard can finally have that football game. The last thing I want to share, and when I talk about a chance to follow Mickey's example, I think we all know, it's very clear that Mickey loved God, Mickey loved his family, and he demonstrated that by the way he loved all of us. And there was one thing that he began to say later in his life, and maybe he said it to you, because how many times do you think Mickey heard, thank you for your service? All the places he went, presidents, NFL stadiums, celebrities, all the places he went. How many times did he hear that? Thank you for your service. But do you remember what he said in response? He said, you were worth it. And to me, that is the best way for us to honor Mickey's legacy. If we look at each other, the people we're just meeting today, the people we're going to meet next week, if we see them the same way he saw us, that they're worth it. And if we do that, we can live up to his legacy. Thank you, and God bless you.
Finally, someone who knows how to speak in the mic.
So since 20...
Over the sea, let's go, men. We're shoving right off again. Nobody knows where or when. We're shoving right off again. It may be Shanghai, farewell and goodbye. Sally and shoving right off for home, shoving right off for home, shoving right off for home again. Company, halt! Right fast, cut off! 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's gotta be pork, there's gotta be beans in order to fill up and fatten a fighting marine. A mighty marine. We carry all our vitamins inside a little can. For corned beef is a delicacy in China or Japan. And so we're ready to go wherever we go. We know that we go prepared to fight the foe or see that we keep them scared.
On land we always land a bit of femininity.
And then we hear the bugles blow. And where the heck are we?
Where are you? Where am I? Where are you? Where are we?
Over the sea, let's go, men. We're sailing away again. Nobody knows where or when. We're sailing away again. It may be Shanghai. Farewell and goodbye. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles on the land and on the sea. Over the sea, let's go then. We're shoving right off again. Nobody knows where or when. We're shoving right off again. It may be Shanghai. Farewell and goodbye. Salim soon, don't be blue. We've just begun for years and years and then we're shoving right off for home, shoving right off for home, shoving right off for home again. Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.